Yeah.
Right, press.
Right.
Right, for about the fifth time, good evening, everybody. We are hopefully starting
evening.
episode 71 of the Malt Travel podcast, although it has taken, that's our fourth attempt at getting it started. So I'm on a new,
Yeah, look, my bloody
he's drunk his beer.
my bottle of beer is empty.
I'm
Look,
in,
I've drunk most of my beer.
I'm in a new room. I'm on a different machine. I would hope that I can get some bloody Wi-Fi. I say all I can blame is atmospherics because down here in Staffordshire it's gone very, very dark, almost as dark as Nicholas's stout, and very, very warm. So anyway, we
It's
are
a Ruby
here.
mild, actually.
So a Ruby Mile. So gentlemen, this is episode 71. We've had a little bit of a break. Certainly, I've been away on all holes. I know
Yeah.
Bruce is going on holes a little bit later on. Nick's been to Madeira, although I don't think there's much of a beer scene there, and there was very little beer scene in Skiathos.
Oh, there was.
I've got to report. But we'll catch up maybe on our summer jaunts a little bit, probably at the end of this year, well, this month, early next month, because we've got to try and fit together our little annual whatever, Big Boys Beano, where we travel the northeast coast line, rail line from Yorkshire's fair city of York all the way up to the granite city of Aberdeen and back again. So that's the plan. We're going to probably take 2 or 3 episodes, I think, to get through it all, because whilst it was only 48 hours, we fitted quite a lot into 48 hours. Although I've got to say, actually, we were quite moderate. On reflection, we were quite moderate. We were in bed without any problems. We got up okay, and I'm glad to say there was no sickness at any point. So anyway, that's the plan. As always, we'll just kick off with a few beery highlights and just a little bit of beer news. But it's been quite a while since we were last together, so God knows where this will go. Bruce, you seem to be in a little bit of a desert. I know. Well, I think you've had probably WhatsApp because you haven't been bombarding me with photos recently, or you've been busy at work. So I don't know which is the truth.
Yeah, no, that's right. I know. We seem to just go around the ball, but they really don't. We and there's been a bit of dearth of interesting stuff as well, hasn't there? I was in Weatherby this morning, and I can take a report that progress on Britain's newest spoons is surging ahead. I was saying to Nick, it's probably know very well that we did go to a Stonegate pub, a nice Stonegate pub in Weatherby. Got half a Barnsley Bitter and half a Daleside Blonde. It was £6.30 for 2 halves. So you think when Wetherspoons opens, people are going to think they've got the heaven, won't they? Be able to get
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's outrageous, that, isn't it?
Nicholas seems to be using the Wetherspoons Ale Festival pamphlet because I know he's.
Yeah, I've had some nice recently. I was in the one in Whitby on Tuesday, and for a change, they had a good selection in there. And once again, Mondays to Wednesdays now, he has a special offer on. So even in Whitby, what was the pain? Is his beer £2.55, I think, and then obviously they still accept the 50p off voucher, so just top side of £2 for a pint, compared to I think the most expensive in Whitby because it's a tourist one. You're looking at £3.55. But yeah, I had a very nice pint of Oakham Inferno, and they had the Purity Gold on, and then they also had a couple of the Whitby ones on as well, which is, once again, it's ironic that it's probably served better in spoons than it is up at the Abbey, and certainly a lot cheaper for a pint. So yeah, it mainly been spoons, really, been working compared to you lot who've been here, there and everywhere.
Almost a bit. I think my last British pint was in the executive lounge of East Midlands Airport, and it was a pint of Manchester Pale, which they quite weirdly do in East Midlands Airport. And then I moved on to the Guinness, and I haven't had a pint since.
Yeah. A decent part of a cask Manchester Pale is delicious. So if you get it in Manchester, was that keg or cask?
It was keg, unfortunately. Don't have cask in the lounge. So my other beery highlight was just before I went away to Greece. I had a little solo trip. I had to get some my holiday annual leave in, so I had a little trip to Barmouth actually, and I hit it quite right. It wasn't wonderful. It was about the right balance of sun and rain. And again, I've done Barmouth previously, so it was a couple of old haunts, which is the couple of pubs on the main street. I found actually a really good pub that's got a fantastic view. If you're on YouTube, it's that bottom right there. That was the kind of view from the beer garden. And a stunning place. And again, okay, the beer choice wasn't fantastic, but it was great. Managed to find some purple moose. But interestingly, one of the pubs I went in, everybody was drinking Erdanger. So I thought, well, you know what,
Well,
you might as well jump on it. It was £6 a pint, which wasn't too extortionate, but yeah, that was all good.
mm,
And then Nick, I think the other one I've got from yourself is I think you did a little bit of a mini East Yorkshire Weatherspoons kind of charge
Oh,
around
I did
one day, didn't you?
yeah, I did a super sevens using me Northern Rail tickets. So got the bus through to Scarborough, managed a cheeky one in Scarborough about 11:15, I think it was. And that was a nice pint. Can't remember what it was now. And then train down to Bridlington, so one in Bridlington, then down to Beverley, one in Beverley, two in Hull, the two spoons in Hull, the three John Scotts, and the Admiral of the Humber, and then on to Selby. First time I've ever been in the spoons in Selby. Quite narrow, but pleasantly surprising there. It was very tidy. Right the way through the back, they've got like a little bit of beer garden. Went in the new inn in Selby, which is the one that's in the Canberra Heritage Guide, and that, shall I say, was a unique experience, but not in a good way. And then ended up popping in the punch bowl in York, waiting to jump back on the train to get back. So all in all, yeah, a Super Sevens day, courtesy of Northern Rail and Mr. Tim Martin and his very cheap beers and vouchers. And I say, yeah, I didn't have a bad beer all day, even in the new inn. The beer was all right, but it was the clientele and the person behind the bar, I would call it. So yeah, but that's a story in its own right.
yes, yes. After worked in Selby, when you win the pub, many people avoiding Selby. I can tell you. Yeah,
So
yeah. You're lucky to be in.
we've ticked off our kind of normal Weatherspoons chat. It's been quite positive so far, and actually some good news a little bit about our friend Mr. Smith, because it's been all over the papers. It's like even on the Yorkshire Post front page of their magazine was about, again, inexperienced couples wanting to manage UK strangest pub chain, and it made quite a few things here. Yeah, so apparently, yeah, they're offering a shared wage now of £55,000 for a couple. And they're actually asking for inexperienced couples, which again there was lots of debate about that, why that may well be. And I did look at that 133 vacancies on their website, which means that if they've got 200 pubs, only 33% are fully staffed. Which again, as we've kind of mentioned a lot on this podcast, is a strange doing, isn't it? Now, Nicholas, come on, what's been happening in Malton? Because the toilet gate, I understand, and if you're in Malton,
news.
They are quite useful toilets. They're in the middle of the kind of market square, across from what the old Golden Lion, not far from Chapter 2, and they are quite useful if you're nipping in between pubs. But there's been a lot of debate, hasn't there, on the spotlight?
Well, that's the thing.
News.
Yeah, not like it used to be when you could do 8 or 9 pubs and your bloody did get fairly full. Nowadays, really, you just wait till you get in the next pub because there's only 4 or 5 pubs you can go in town. But yeah, they're wanting to start charging people. So there's been a fractious divide between council and county councillors and people who are county councillors but who live in Malton, supposedly campaigning for the locals. It's the grey vote again, because obviously the main people who need to use the toilet are your grey-haired people, mainly. So you couldn't understand it from both points. By charging people, hopefully those people aren't going to go in there, smash holy shit out these places. Whereas when people can come and go whenever they want, that's basically what happens. So most public lavatories get damaged because people are going in there, not because they're desperate to use the loo, just because they're that way inclined for whatever reason. So I think by charging people, they're hoping to keep the undesirables out. And at the same time, if anybody does decide to damage something, then it can be easily repaired and paid for. I would think that's the top.
But I would say, having been a male of a certain age, I have used these toilets whenever I'm in town, and they're not bad. I've never seen them vandalised. And again, these days they can build pretty robust toilets. I think for those coming in the villages on the buses that come once a week and do their shopping, this is quite close to the bus stop, isn't it? And yeah, I don't know.
Yeah,
it's
definitely.
a strange one, really.
Yeah, we see down at the bus station now, they've had to put mechs on those. As I say, when I have my ride up to Whitby, people have been on the bus since Leeds, and it takes nearly 2 hours. The poor souls are jumping off the coastline of bus and trying to use the toilets, either those toilets in the bus station are either not available because they've been vandalised, or they have to start scratching off 20p's. Well, who carries 20 pence with them nowadays? And there ain't a manned office within the bus station, so they can't give change out. So I do feel sorry for those people, knowing full well how long it bloody takes. And for anybody who thinks, oh no, I'll hang on to Whitby, well, you've got another hour and 20 minutes to go, so it's even worse.
Yeah. And then just switch on from our, I don't know about our Great British Pub Crawl chap. He certainly gets lots of exposure, doesn't he? And he does, I don't know really. Anyway, the good news is he agrees with us that the Flying Duck in Ilkley is a fantastic pub. And I think Nick, you were last in there. I think of a trio.
Yes.
And I think all three of us have been in there at some point together and or in pairs, and it's a cracking pub.
Even Jackie quite likes it. That's saying so much.
Their beers are really, really good, aren't they? And they always have a really good selection in there as well. You don't see their beers very often elsewhere, though. They don't tend to travel very far.
No, you don't. It's true that. It's
beers.
Good beer, yeah.
But it's really
they
good
normally
beer.
have
he did Acomb and Holgate the week before last.
He certainly gets around. Yeah,
they have their full rack
thing
on.
Is, he goes to the pubs, but does he really show you a lot? And he never really says a lot. He's been rustic now. If you watch him, now watch him. He just, if it's old, he goes, he's got a lovely rustic feel, but he doesn't really describe anything. How much for the great real pubs chap, the Yorkshire fella? He goes, I just sort of one a week, but he goes a lot more detail and really knows his beer. And I quite like his videos. They're very unflashy, but he's well worth a watch, I think. Yeah.
I would say I think he is champion in pubs, and I know he's had a couple of MPs and people getting on back about trying to support the British pub, which can only be a good thing, can't it? Really, so.
That's right. Avoid him, right? No matter how rough they are. If he visits a town, he does visit them all, so he's been commended for that, isn't he? Does it? Stick his nose in his hat. Go there.
Okay, so what we're going to try and do, and we'll probably just do a little bit of an intro now, and then we'll probably pick this up in part 2, is just set the scene to our Scottish adventure. So many moons ago, Bruce came up with this winded idea that let's see how far we can go on the train, basically on the East Coast line, and pretty much, well, you can go probably a little bit further, but the idea was to get to Aberdeen and then to work our way back. And after much to-ing and fro, we eventually agreed that it was, the first Friday in July, Independence Day in America. We set off from glorious North Yorkshire. Nick and I from Malton met Bruce in York, and then we travelled up that wonderful East Coast line. Very scenic. If you've never been on it, I would just hugely recommend it. All the way up, really. It's a fantastic passing, historical delights like Durham Cathedral and Castle and the coast, Lindisfarne, and going over, I think, 4 heritage bridges in that route, Bruce. You go over the Tweed, don't you? The Tyne, you go over the Tay, and then you go, and then obviously the Edinburgh ones, the Scottish ones as well. So a fantastic adventure. So it was 2 days, 2 countries, 11 counties, 4 cities, 1 town, 17 pubs, including 2 Wetherspoons. There were also 5 additional pubs where we walked in and walked back out again, and we'll have to catch up with some of those today, because I'd forgotten one in Dundee because I'd just written down George Orwell. I thought, what the hell does that mean? Is that something to do with the pub? Then you remember we walked into George Orwell, and I don't think it had any real ale on, despite it saying it was real ale, but we walked out again.
No beer on, no.
The tenants count, I got to 3 for me and then 2 each for you pair, as in pints, although we did that with some halves. And as I mentioned,
Bruce had far more pints of tenants than that.
I don't know. He was on halves, maybe.
Bruce was drinking tenants most of the bloody weekend.
So we also did a little bit of live podcasting, which have come out okay. I'll probably leave those till I get a better secure internet, because I've tried to put them in and that hasn't worked quite well. Just a little bit about the Scottish beer scene, because it's a bit weird, isn't it? So a lot of the beers we did eventually drink had a number attached to them: 80 shilling, 70 shilling, 80 shilling, 90 shilling. In some parts of Scotland, they call it 80 bob, 60 bob, 70 bob. And this is just a peculiarity in the past where Scottish breweries use a shilling system to categorise their beers, and that has stuck. So obviously you get things like McEwen's 70 bob, you get Belhaven 80 shilling. Belhaven seemed to dominate our trip, didn't that part of Scotland seemed to be very much dominated by Belhaven pubs, who of course now part of Green
Absolutely.
King.
Green King.
So yeah. And we've mentioned the aforementioned tenants. Tenants still is, and I think we could probably our own research suggests that it is by far
Dominant.
50% of alcohol in Scotland is tenants. Then
Yeah.
Smirnoff, Captain Morgan, Guinness coming 3, 4, Gordon's gin 5th.
It's like the
6, 7,
Madry of
8.
Scotland, isn't it?
It is.
Yeah.
And we don't get down to proper beer. Well, he will.
But at least it's brewed in Scotland.
Yeah. Bellhaven Best comes at 11, which is probably the first proper beer, I guess we could argue with it. Even Famous Grouse, I was surprised, was number 12. So that's kind of setting the scene a little bit. So as I said, the idea was we set off from York very early on a Friday morning. Nicholas and I set off even earlier. We got the first train out of Scarborough via Malton, and we arrived in York in a quite quiet York, actually, which is quite nice for once. And we jumped on the very fine.
It was a pleasant morning.
Trains that do that bit of the East Coast. And I've got to say again, if you're on YouTube, we will serve some splendid breakfast. I've got to say again, if you can